here we are. Two bunnies. Got my equipment here. Hot water for washing hands. Towel. Well, first I cut off the head, and the heads are going to be for dog treats. Once the blood drains, I'm going to flip it upside down like this, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to squeeze the bladder out so that it's not bothering me while I skin. And then I cut off the tail. I'll meet you back here when I do that. Cut off the tail, and now I'm going to take this leg off right here. I'm going to cut the tendon, and I'm going to break this bone here. You can kind of feel it where it can break, and then I'm going to cut it off, and this right here is going to be my point of entry. I'm going to use the scissors and just cut up to this point, and then cut from here down to this leg, and I'm gonna just strip it in. Here we go. You have to be kind of careful to just cut the skin and not cut into the meat. Get to the top of that leg, you don't want to cut the tendon, so be careful because that tendon is holding the whole carcass. If you cut that, then pretty much the whole body will drop down. Here I cut around the leg, and I could just kind of pull the skin down. Next step, I'm going to cut the paws here because that'll allow me to just strip the whole thing down. Okay, so I'm just taking it like a coat off. I just went all around, being very careful not to cut into the meat. This will be taken care of a little later. So I'm just gonna pull this down. I can't do it with one hand. Okay, so there are different ways to do this, but I'm going to cut this leg off first. That'll allow me to get inside here, and then gut. Take these arms off, and then work on this leg. The one thing I like to do is so that the arms are not bloody, I like to kind of pump this blood in the armpits out, and then when you butcher, it's not going to be as bloody as it would be. So here I cut off the arms after getting most of the blood out. Now I'm going to start on this leg right here. There's a bone right here. You want to cut behind this bone. There are glands on both sides of the poop chute, and they're kind of these brownish things. So you don't want to eat them because they taste disgusting. Here's my cut. There it is. And I'm gonna cut on the other side. And here's a leg. I cut this hind quarter off, and I'm gonna get into the stomach and prep the stomach. Once it's prepped, I'm gonna cut it off, and there'll be just a leg hanging. And here we go. I cut the stomach lining out, and that's what you'll see. There's still, I'll have to take that cloaca or whatever, the gut out that goes to the poop chute there. So that's my next step, is to get that safely out. Okay, so I got that out. I just cut it a little bit right where the leg is. It makes it easier once the other leg is not there to open up the hip or that connection. And so we can just drop her down. My family says livers are delicious. I take this bile gland out. You just have to be very careful. It's in the sac, so there's a little connection there, and you can kind of rip it off. Kidneys, I just normally pull them out and give them to the dog. The lungs and the rib cage, I'm gonna cut through this rib cage. You see right here is the line where you can basically cut the ribs. Okay. Heart and lungs are out. This is basically the messiest part of the job. I'm just gonna take this backbone off this leg and then work on the rest of the leg. I'm gonna cut it right here where there's a hip bone right here. Cut. I'll just keep on going. So this is the last leg right here, and this is the tendon. You can see it right here. That's what you want to cut, is basically loose the leg almost off, and then you kind of take this foot off. All right, so that done. I don't have a whole lot of fur on that. I kind of gotten careful and when I'm cutting, so it takes a little practice to not get a bunch of fur, but that's okay if you do. You can just kind of take it off. It's not a big deal. Okay, so what are my steps again? Let's see. I take these paws off. I take this foot off, and then I take the tail off, and then I use the tail to cut open up to here, go around this leg, strip it down, be careful not to nick this tendon. Then I do this leg right here, and I just kind of pull it out just like a sleeve. And then I don't use water to like dip it if you have a little bit of fur, that's okay. You can just take it off with your hands. It's not a big deal. It's easier to take it off with your hands. Don't dip it in water because that just makes it worse. Then see these glands right here? You don't want to eat these glands. This is a guy. Male rabbit. So you don't want to eat these. You don't want them anywhere on your meat. They will make the meat taste not great. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean it up a little bit, right? Clean it up, and then there's a hip right here. I'm gonna take this leg off. I'm gonna cut behind this hip, right where my fingernail is at. I'm gonna cut behind this hip, cut all the way around. That'll open up an area for me to go into the stomach, and then to take the intestine out, and so on and so forth. Be careful when you're cutting this skin right here. If there's still pee left in the bladder sac, you really want to be careful. So you kind of have to pull it back. You have to pull it back a little bit like this to cut it, because you don't want to cut that pee sac. It's horrible. Don't do it. That's why I flip the bunny upside down before I do anything to get the pee out. And you take the guts out. Make sure to take the little gallbladder out from the liver, and massage these arms to get the blood out, so it's not as bloody when you cut the arms off, and so it's all good.